Hello everyone, so this is from Denmark, and I'll just talk why I'm talking about Denmark in a second, but this is going to be the highest retirement age now in Europe, and obviously the majority of Europe and the majority of Ireland too are in the 60s, near pension age, and people are getting older, people are living longer too, which is a good thing, but at the same time it's a huge amount of money, especially the cost of living. Years ago things were cheaper, etc, etc, things lasted longer. Nowadays everything's a rip-offs. So obviously it's a huge burden on the state, what I'm trying to say. So Denmark's going to adopt a law by 2040 that people basically would walk on to 70. Now that's all well and good. I'm sure the majority of people will go straight away. That's all well and good saying that, because in a physical job, I do a physical job, I clean the streets and stuff like that. That's a back, it's a physical job. You're walking with brushes, you're doing things, you're walking with your back, your hip. It's not like sitting in an office pushing a pen. People can do that to the 100. But when you're doing physical work, I know many builders, I know some painters and stuff. You couldn't walk until you're 70 doing painting and putting blocks, because you'd be gone. Your back would be gone. You wouldn't be. You'd be lucky to make it maybe to 60. And 65, I think, is a decent enough age for people to walk. Because again, you should enjoy the rest of your life, and shouldn't walk until you're drop dead. But again, this is the thing I hear a lot from the Irish government, that we need to bring in the world basically to cover all these older people, to pay their pensions. But in a lot of cases they're not going to do it. But yeah, no, all of them will probably follow suit, because the reason why I say that, it used to be always 65. Now they're slowly bringing this in, that you can walk on to 66, but it's not forcibly yet. But sooner or later they will. But there is another scheme, I suppose, in the works, and they want people to walk until 70, and for every year you stay on to 70 they give you an extra €100 up in a week in the pension. So pretty much what I'm trying to say, probably in the next 10 years it'll be 70. But there's such opposition to doing this, that they probably won't do it, because they want people to walk until 70. Like Hello Humphreys wanted to do it, so they probably will do it. Eventually they will. But what I'm trying to say is, it's very hypocritical too that we're bringing in the world. The Irish politicians say we have to bring in the whole world, young people from Timbuktu, etc., etc., to walk in the country. But again, a lot of them won't walk, etc., etc. But we want elderly people to walk into the drop dead, pretty much. It doesn't make any sense, but that's the logic in it. But it doesn't make any sense in general too, because how could things be more expensive than years ago? Let's put it that way too, in terms of retirement and stuff. Like even just a non citizen in Ireland, that was figures released last year, that you need a small loan, to be totally honest, to live in Ireland. A decent, this is just not a luxurious retirement, just a semi-decent retirement in Ireland. You would need thousands a year, and it's insane, especially because again, a lot of these people who were born, say, in the 70s, the 80s, stuff like that, they had to walk. It's not, things weren't easy years ago. Technology, there wasn't much technology. It's only the last maybe 30 years has been technology. The last my generation is supposed to have it. The easiest, I know, with housing and stuff like that, that's a fair stretch to call it that. But in terms of work and stuff, like, things have got easier in terms of walking, compared to years ago where things were backbreaking. A lot of our parents would have had to walk to work and walk home. Nowadays people can get the train and the bus and stuff like that home, and have cars. Years ago, take for example my father and other people would have had to walk to work at 5 o'clock in the morning and walk back at 5 o'clock at night. It was long hours, tough work, and there was no holiday sick pay and all that. But these people had to work out, and these are the people that built our state. Paid into the state, paid the way, and these are the people we have to thank for all the luxuries we have today in our state, where the government steal a lot of the money anyway. But but they're the people who built it. They're the people who built this state and this republic. And we owe it to them too, that the money goes to the Irish people, the Irish state, and not to being dumped down the drain. But a lot of that's been dumped down the drain anyway. So, but what I'm trying to say, and particularly in Scandinavia, obviously Denmark and stuff, you could argue you could go on for hours in that discussion. But obviously Social Democrats are in power in Denmark. But in Scandinavia there's a big problem too, a lot of elderly people, because there's not enough people being born, given birth and stuff like that, because things are too expensive, along with other issues. We get into it some other day. But there's many issues in terms of this. But it will happen here. Will, as I say, the slowly creeping it up. And again, there's a voluntary scheme at the moment that if you're 66 now, you can walk on to 70, and they give you an extra 100 and something euro a week, every week in the pension for every year you walk or something like that. But at the end of the day, is it really worth killing yourself for another year to pay the politicians in Dáil Éireann? Because that's where the majority of the money's going to. It's not going to the only man in the street. It's not going to the only woman in the street that personally needs it. It's going to big developers and stuff that's housing asylum seekers and all that. That's where all the money seems to be going to at this stage. It's not going to the pensioners. I can point out many pensioners who can't get free passes, who can't get hospital appointments. The money's not going to them. So you have to wonder where the money's going. But there's many different things we could cover here. But what I'm trying to say, it should be 65. I know people say that's too high. But I think that's semi-okay, 65. But again, in the physical job too, if you're doing physical work, it's very easy to say it. But I don't think you'd be lucky to make it to 55 if you were doing physical work like that. But if you're pushing a pen and stuff like that, you could probably walk on to 65. But I do think people should enjoy life. It's a gift. I know it's a huge burden in the state, but I do think people should enjoy it. Because people spend too much time walking. Years ago, people walked themselves into the grave, and for little to nothing. That's the thing. But anyway, let me know what you think. Subscribe for more, and bye.